All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. It's your host, John Abbas, coming to you live from a different place. I am sorry about this lighting. We are in the middle of moving. We moved out of our old place. We've been building a house for almost the last year, but there's a little bit of a gap. And right now I am in a timeshare. We own a timeshare just outside of Nashville. And the lighting here is absolutely terrible. So if you are watching this interview, I am sorry for really crappy lighting. Just could not get it how I wanted it, no matter what angle I use. So I want to apologize, but that's okay because today's episode is still going to be fire, and I know you guys are going to love it. So if you are here for the first time listening, I want to welcome you to the Mentor Nation podcast. All that I ask is if you get value out of this interview, just hit that subscribe button. Whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening on Apple or Google, just hit the subscribe button so that you get notified every time I release an awesome episode. If you are returning, I want to welcome you back. I have another exciting episode for you today, and I want to get right to it. So today's guest, she's an absolute rock star. You know, Cris Cawley is a highly successful lifestyle entrepreneur. Now, here's what I mean by lifestyle entrepreneur. She runs a multiple successful businesses, multi-million-dollar companies, but she also has an incredible family life. She designed and built her companies around her life. She gets to be a mom, she gets to travel the world, and she also gets to contribute to the community while running multiple successful businesses. And I love interviewing people like that. She owns several companies, including a highly successful book publishing company. And she's been featured in every major publication out there. In her 20 plus year career, she has helped over 150,000 entrepreneurs learn how to take their abilities and their knowledge and turn them into businesses. In today's episode, Cris talks about just the exact steps for taking your wisdom that you've gathered over the course of your life, whether you think you do or you don't have anything valuable to teach. You might change your opinion after this interview, but she helps people take the information that is inside of here that you have accumulated over your life, and she shows you the exact steps for turning it into a thriving business by helping other people solve their own problems. Now, again, some of you may not think that you know enough to help someone else in their own life. Well, Cris is going to explain why you might be wrong and how to overcome the imposter syndrome that stops so many people from ever making money by helping other people. And I'm excited about this interview because we are truly in the gig economy. More and more people are looking for ways to be able to earn money, a full-time living, but be able to do it remotely from home while traveling, while spending time on with family on a camping trip. And that's what we talk about here today. So this is just a great episode with Cris. So sit back, pay attention, and enjoy the show. So Cris, I want to be the first to welcome you to the Mentor Nation podcast. I'm excited for this interview, and it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thanks for having me here today. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I have to tell you before we start, I was researching you and I was listening to an interview on YouTube last week, and I got fired up. Like, you have a massive amount of energy and so much excitement in just the way that you talk and the way that you teach. It's freaking contagious. And I don't know if you know that, but it is. It's awesome.
Thank you. I guess when you love what you do, it's easy, right? It makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And after the storm that you just went through, for you to have that level of excitement today is all the better. So for everybody listening today, Cris Cawley is an expert at showing people how to monetize what they know. She is the owner of Game Changer Publishing. She's helped over 150,000 people take the knowledge that they have within and just bring it out to the world. Now, Cris, I really want to focus this interview, if it's okay with you, on just how to make money with your knowledge and expertise. You know, more specifically, why it's a better way to make money, why it's more fulfilling, how it makes more of an impact, and just the steps for going about getting started. Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. You know, like I was telling you before the interview, a lot of us, we're doers, right? We're building businesses, we're in the trenches, we're running things. But we know that there's another side to it, helping other people. I know anytime I've ever taught, whether it's my kids or someone else, there's just a gratifying feeling there. And I'd love to know how to get started. But first, I would love to hear a little bit about your story. How did you get started as an entrepreneur and what evolved into leading what you do now?
You bet. Well, just like everybody, I have my own business. I had a real estate business, a real estate investing business, and we were doing it in multiple marketplaces. And one time I got invited to kind of what started the whole monetizing my knowledge thing. I got invited to speak at something called Learning Annex in San Diego many years ago. Got pretty popular. They had like the Donald Trumps and the Susie Ormans, the George Foremans of the world. But I started speaking with those guys. And it's interesting. I think it asked me to kind of come on staff and do some teaching and some classes. So I started doing these monthly classes, and it was really interesting to me. More than people asking about, of course, they had questions about real estate investing and how and what and where and all that sort of thing. But the big thing that really hit me was people kept coming up at the end of it asking me, do you do any type of consulting? Do you do coaching? How did you get started doing what you do? How do you start to speak? How do you become an expert? And I was kind of like, expert? I'm just kind of paying it forward and helping you guys out. Share my knowledge. What do you mean expert? Right? What are you talking about, right? Well, that was like 23 years ago. 1998. So yeah, it's been almost 23 years. So, wow. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Like every single class, all these people, I was there for like 2 hours later answering these types of questions. So it got me thinking, like, what if I took all of my knowledge and put it into a course or just something online? I started researching, and back then we had books and tapes. People would come to these seminars, they'd sell books and tapes, and I was like, what's that thing called where they have those tapes and those CDs in? Like, yeah. I was like Googling all these weird, like clamshell, like what's that called? Like, how do I make my own books and tapes, right? And all of these sort of things. I mean, it took me months, honestly, to be honest with you, it took me 3 years to figure it all out because I just didn't know where to start, right?
That's right.
And so long story short, I did figure it out, created a course. And I kept getting invited to speak at other events. And I started selling this $797 course. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there were events where I'd make 20, 30, 40,000. And my best day, I did 150,000 in sales. And I kind of went, that was sort of that first 6-figure day. I went, whoa, like I just made more in a day than I would make in a year doing this at a job. Right. And I wasn't a job girl to start with, but I worked a job before and I'd been a consultant before. And I was kind of, wow, this is incredible. So, and what really hit me and what I really thought, wow, this is great is I did the work once. I created this information, this online information. Back then we had ebooks, right? And then I turned it into a physical product where we sold it online. And then I started selling it at events and I started doing my own events. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like people will pay to learn from other people who've been where they want to go. So that really like lit my fire. Started doing webinars back then. Back in the day, we got up to where we had like 1,000 people on a webinar. We had our own events. And then, what's really funny about this is it kind of came full circle. Then at the end of these events, many times at the end of these events, or you coach people through success, they have success. The question they always ask at the end is, how do I do what you're doing? Now I'm a successful investor. How do I write a book? How do I write ebooks? How do I have a course? How do I speak? How did you get invited to speak here or there or Cornell? All these places. How did that happen? And I thought every single time people it hits them, the light bulb goes off, and they have some success, and they're like, I'm an expert. I'm doing this. I'm doing well at it. I'm making money. I can show others. They always wanted to know that. So we started helping people. We were doing infomercials at the time and selling a $25 book on TV, right? But it really wasn't about the book. The book was driving to a back-end coaching program or consulting program. And so, people were asking, how is this? How does this happen? How do you do that? That sort of thing. So we started helping people. We started consulting and doing coaching and started helping other people create their own programs. And what we realized it took us a few years to realize this, but that every single client who had a book was more successful than the ones who didn't. And I guess just because they had more authority, they had more credibility, it was easier to market them, they had more influence because they had an audience. And then social media came about and it was like, man, this this is like a dream come true. All the pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
Man, that's awesome.
Pretty cool stuff.
We have a lot to unpack. Actually, I'm so sorry. I think it's echoing a little bit. Is it echoing for you?
I don't hear an echo on my end.
Okay, great. Yeah, so there's a lot I want to unpack in what you just said. My first question that came to mind is what made you decide to coach people on how to do what you did versus thinking how, like, starting a program on how to become a real estate investor? Is there a reason that you made that decision versus going the real estate route?
Absolutely. Well, I did go the real estate route. So I was helping them be successful investors first, right? And we had low ticket offers, everything from a class, $150 class, all the way up to a $10,000 real estate buying tour, right?
Gotcha.
So we had low ticket and high ticket. However, I started helping people do what I was doing for free, just as a courtesy, kind of helping them. And it got to where so many people were asking, I was like, this is insane. This could be like its own thing, right?
That's right.
And it was super time consuming. And I was just, paying it forward from the bottom of my heart, like trying to be genuine and help people, like, oh, cool. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Pay it forward. What can I do to help you? What do you need? What contacts, what resources, how can I help? People started asking about webinars. How do I do a webinar? How do I write a book? How do I create a website? What's a funnel? All of these things. And I was doing it all for free, just sharing my knowledge. But it got so I was a mom of 2 at the time. And I'm like, okay. My husband's like, hello, your family's over here, So I was working so much. I had to slow it down or be able to manage it and monetize it. And actually, it's funny. I ended up selling the real estate business. I grew it to a certain amount. The subprime market crashed in 2008. And then I ended up selling about a year after that. And then I went full time into helping people consulting, because I have more people asking, probably not more, but just as many as were asking with the real estate stuff. And I did it when I sold my business. I signed a non-compete for real estate. So I was like, okay, I'm going to consult people on being experts and monetizing their expertise and learning to speak and coach and consult and do courses and such. And here we are 12 years later.
That's awesome. So I want to pivot into the book publishing, because I completely agree with you. I've heard this many times that it's just credibility, right? And it's especially for me personally, I know that writing a book, and I haven't published that, I've written it. I need to take it through edits, but it's just putting something out there from you that your kids and all of them can read, on top of the business and the credibility. It's just, I think everybody should do that. And it just to leave that legacy, something that, when a movie director dies, his movies will live for generations. But I wanted to ask, because I know that I've struggled with this for a long time. Like, when you're helping people, the thousands of people go from a doer to a teacher, how do you help them overcome that negative self-talk in the very beginning? Like that. And I know you probably run into this, like, nobody would pay me for that, or I'm not that good, or is what I'm good at something that anybody else would really want to learn? Like, what do you say to that?
It's so true. And there's a big thing built around that now called imposter syndrome. Everybody's like imposter syndrome.
That's
people
right.
Feel like I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or what do you think I should charge? And it's interesting because we have clients who, we start at like 5K and go all the way up to 100K. And we have clients that have 100K programs, but in the beginning, those are the same clients that were like, I could charge people who pay me $5,000 for my knowledge, my expertise, right? And some people want to coach or consult. Some people don't want to talk to people all day. Some people just want to do it in a course. Some people just want to be paid to speak at different corporations in different places around the country. Everybody's back end looks different, but it's every single client. I don't care how successful they are. And we have a client who's like an attorney, very, very successful, tens of millions of dollars a year.
Wow.
And being an attorney, he's kind of like, I want to pivot. I want to do something different. I want to be an expert. I want to travel and speak. I want to teach other lawyers how I got here, that sort of thing. But even people like that have this, like, really? People will pay for that? They'll pay me for my knowledge. They'll pay that much. So it really is it's a confidence thing. And it's kind of like meeting people where they are initially, because if you try to convince them that, yeah, you could sell them. Absolutely, you could have a $50,000 program or a $60,000 program, $5K a month for 12 months. They don't believe it, right? So initially, we usually meet them in the middle and we help them come up with an offer the messaging to translate their value to the world, and then figure out who's the audience, who wants this product, who will listen, right? So when you have the offer, the messaging, and the right audience, and those three things align, that's where the magic happens. So once they see that, and then we typically start out with pricing lower than what I think they're worth or what they could charge or what their value is, but it's something that they believe. It's kind of like losing weight, right? If you come in, you're like, I need to lose 100 pounds. People are like, oh God, I can't do this, right? But it's like, let's lose 10 pounds. And we lose 10 pounds. And, now I'm like, all right, this isn't so bad. Now let's go for 20. It's the same type of thing. We kind of start at a place where they feel is reasonable, but it takes some pushing, a little coaching, to kind of get them where I think they need to be, right? Where it's worth their time. And then before you know it, they get 4 or 5 clients. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to raise my prices. I'm going to go from 5 to 10K or 10 to 15K. And the thing is, in a lot of people investing in yourself from the consumer side, someone investing in themselves for knowledge. It's like going to college. You spend, a couple $100,000 to go to college these days. Investing in yourself is the best. There's no better investment. And to be able to shave years of time and money and heartache and failing off of your learning curve, and to be able to learn how to do something from someone who's been there and done it 900 times, I'd pay any price for that, right? If it's something I want that's going to net me this ROI, what does it cost? Or like relationship coaching, it's going to save my marriage. It's priceless,
Absolutely.
Right? Things like that. So coaching, consulting, expertise, incredibly valuable, and people will pay for it. It takes a few clients for someone to go, oh.
Absolutely. Well, to your point, and I as a consumer, I've joined lots of $99, $37 a month. And, I never really got much results, but it was my fault. And my first time paying high ticket for anything, I just made a 10 times bigger commitment on my part. And so I got results. I got a lot of results. I was able to.
You had skin in the game, right?
That's exactly it.
They're like, okay, now I've invested $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. I remember my first mastermind invested $25,000. My husband was like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? You know what I mean? But that resulted in a multi-million-dollar business venture with one of those people in that mastermind that I met. So the networking, the belief in myself, the how-to, learning from other people how to do things, how to get there quicker, faster, better. It's priceless. And you're right. Absolutely. If they invest more, the clients that invest more have more skin in the game and they get it done. We actually did a book publishing program in the beginning where it was really inexpensive. Like $1,000, just kind of like a little beta when we were first getting started. And it's funny, it took everybody like hours to make minute rice, right? Get me your bio. 3 weeks later, I get the bio. Get me your headshot. 6 weeks later, I'm like, seriously?
Right.
But when they paid $10,000, it's like, okay, let's get this book done. Boom, 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 boom. 60 days.
That's exactly it. No, you're absolutely right. So I want to pivot a little bit into book publishing because you're one of the biggest authorities in the country at that, helping people get that book out of them. I am a huge fan of, I interview people kind of not for a living, but as a pastime. And so and everybody that I've met, everybody that I've interviewed has an incredible story, a credible journey. I'm at a point now where I primarily read autobiographies of great people. And it's just, God, they're so much better for me than how-to books. And you help people bring those stories out. So my first question is, talk a little bit about your company, what your book publishing company does, and when is the right time for someone to be thinking about I need to write a book, and what do you tell them?
Well, everybody's reason for writing a book is different. We have people that come to us to talk about the legacy thing, right? I just want to wrap all of my experiences up for my kids, my family, my coworkers. I just want to leave a legacy, right? It's kind of like a bucket list thing, right?
Yep.
You've got those people. And then you've got the people who are want to monetize it, right? I believe I have something valuable. I want to share it with the world. I'm already getting paid for consulting or getting asked by people, hey, how did you do that? How'd you do that? I'm doing it for free. How do I just write a book and share it with the world, right? And then have also, when you write a book, there's no geographical boundaries because the book can go global. We can sell it in all the countries. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then you have some people who are just yeah, I just have something inside of me and I want to pay it forward. I want to help the world and I want to change the world. And So anything that's going to help people pay it forward, right? So it kind of depends where they fall into. But honestly, we like to kind of take all of those things, right? We want to write a book that's going to serve people, help people, but you can monetize it, right? Mm-hmm. And some people aren't interested in the back end. They're not interested in consulting. They're not interested in coaching. They're not interested in speaking. So be it, right? To each his own. But what they realize what's possible, usually they're like, really? Like once they kind of get educated on the process. And then there are some people who think, I'm going to quit my $50,000 a year job and I'm going to be rich off of book royalties. And it's like the book royalties are great, but that's not where you make the money. The money, if you're really looking to monetize it, the money is in the back end. And every single book we write has some sort of call to action. We drive people to a back end so that it helps the client get more leads. It helps them have more impact, that positive, the impact, the global impact they're looking for, more influence, right? Some people are about whatever, wanting their name to be known. They want to be the go-to authority. They want more credibility because when you do a book, you have the press release, you have all of this publicity, right? So it does bring attention to you and your name and what you do, and who you are and what you're offering, So right time, I mean, honestly, I think it's different for everybody, but if you're looking for more clients, more leads, more impact, more influence for whatever reason, you want people to listen. Because even if you're like, we have a lot of professional clients, CPAs, doctors, lawyers, who do it just to be like, if I'm going to pick this lawyer or this lawyer, this guy's written a book on this subject.
Yep.
Probably, people just assume that he's an expert because he's written a book. And of course he is. If you can write a book on something, you're pretty much considered an expert. And the one thing I will say is, I think with timing, a lot of people procrastinate. And they procrastinate because they think that they've got to hunker down and go, visit a cabin in North Dakota for 6 months and write to get it all done. And actually, that's such a false thing. We record. We don't write books. We help our clients create a really detailed table of contents, and then we record. We interview them like this over like a Zoom, and we record the audio. We transcribe it, and then we do a developmental edit. So it's actually done in about just a few hours. It's not something that takes months and months and months. And we've published books in a week before. That's not what we do. It's normally like a 60 to 90 day process. But I'm just saying, it's not what people think. Like, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. We're going to pull that out of you. We're going to create a detailed table of contents and put things in order. And basically, that's the hardest part, is getting all their knowledge onto an outline on paper, kind of like a brain dump, and a brainstorming session, and then putting it in order to where it makes sense when the reader's reading it, and then we record and transcribe it. So timing is, I mean, it's like, when do you want results? When do you want the impact? When do you want the authority?
Exactly. Now, I had no idea. Like, I didn't know that was and it's funny too. I had JT McCormick on the podcast, who owns, Scribe Media. Yeah. And we never even got into this. Like, I didn't realize that that's the process. Cause I'm going by what I read, which is like, and I was reading this little bio on John Grisham, and he's just like, how do you make 50 million a year in book royalties? And how have you written like 60 best-selling books? And he's like 1.25 pages a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That's it. And so I didn't realize that, that model has evolved to where anybody can write a book. There are companies out there. And
if you're fantastic. An expert in something, it's very easy for you to talk about it, right? Especially, and some people are like, what do I say and how do I say it? Much like if you were getting invited to speak somewhere or do a TED Talk. We look at every chapter like a TED Talk. Each chapter, we title the chapters, we do the brain dump. So if I want to get from point A to point B, if I want to learn how to invest in real estate, this is where I start. I do all of these steps in between. This is where I end up, right? And so each chapter, think of it as a TED Talk. And we put bullets under each chapter title, right? And those bullets are what we're going to talk about. Much like if you were giving a TED Talk, you would have slides. The slides wouldn't say everything you're going to say out loud. They would have prompters, and then once someone can look at that outline and be prompted, okay, here's what I'm going to talk about next, and just talk. It's a way better book because the knowledge is flowing out of your head. You're not second guessing yourself. Because just like we talked about imposter syndrome, people will write and erase and delete and rewrite. And should I say it like this or should I say it like that? Maybe I should delete it. Maybe I should add it. And it's like, we get in our own way, right? But if you're just talking about it and I'm on the phone and I'm pulling it out of you, it's really hard for you to get out of that, right? It's gonna come out.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, I want to spend our last few minutes talking about something that I think is important to everybody listening. And it's really just having you share your insight on why you believe that helping others solve their problems is a more fulfilling, better way to make money. And there's a reason that I want to have you share that. And it's because, many of us that have businesses, we serve customers, right? And that's fulfilling, satisfying customers, but there's something different about helping people overcome their own problems that I feel like a lot of operators and people working in their business, they don't think about. And it could lead to so much more than just money. It can lead to like real fulfillment, because even Tony Robbins says it, right? Like the ultimate is growth and contribution. That's what creates a happy life. And I think a lot of people are doing the growing part, but the real contribution. So can you just talk a little bit about why you believe in working with all these clients, helping them get over that hurdle of becoming a doer into helping other people overcome, like what it's like on the other end, seeing people?
Sure. Well, the fulfillment, I agree with you. I think the fulfillment and the satisfaction comes from, of course, you have success, but after you have success and you make, X dollars, whatever your goal is, right? Then it's like, okay, now what, right? What else can I do, or how else can I do? And some people aren't having massive success. Maybe that's not what they're cut out to do. They're an expert, but maybe that's not what they're not fully fulfilled. They're making money, they're in a job, they're like, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? And some people don't realize that that's it. That's the missing component. They're searching, right? What is the missing component? But I feel like once you're truly fulfilled and have happiness and satisfaction and love what you do, and what brings me satisfaction in this business, and I think where my true happiness lies, because everybody thinks initially they're chasing the money, right? Yep. I'm 47. When I was 25, I was chasing the money. Okay. I did it. I was like, $1 million. Then I was like, $10 million, $10 million. You know what I mean? That's what I did. But, it wasn't the money. Now that I'm 47, I can look back and go, it wasn't the money I was after. And I've seen so many clients have this epiphany. It was the location independence and the time freedom to do with my time as I chose. We all love our families, our friends. The money brings location independence. I can work from anywhere. COVID has proven we can all work from anywhere, right? The Google, Facebook, Twitter, all those employees of those huge, massive companies work from home for the last year, right? We've all proven to ourselves it can be done. But now people don't want to go back. Why would you want to go back when you can sit in your home office and have your coffee in your PJs? That's the beautiful thing. Like my kids are home homeschooling this week. I'm home with my kids. I can go to their games. I never miss a game. I never miss an event. I can work when I want, work when I don't want. I can run to Starbucks real fast. I can do anything I want. So I feel like the time and location dependence is really what brings the happiness, because the happiness is doing what you want when you want, spending time with your kids. Nobody wants to miss their kids' games because they have to work till 7 o'clock, or, you have to go out of town and travel and be away from their family every week. Nobody wants that. We do it as a means to an end, to make money so we can provide for our families. But once we've provided for our families, wouldn't it be nice if we can work from home? Absolutely. So again, I feel like time freedom, lifestyle. You build your business around your lifestyle versus building your lifestyle around your business, right? And I feel like that's where the true happiness comes in. And so if people can do that, and you're really happy in doing that and giving back and showing other people how to do that, because many times these professionals or experts, some of them are looking to make more money. Yep. Some of them just want a change. They're like, I'm burned out. I hate what I do. I want to do something different. What can I do? Right? I've got all this knowledge. I've been an HR exec for 20 years, but where else can I go besides a 9-to-5 job? They don't even know what's possible, but I really feel like once they're introduced to that, it's kind of like paying it forward. Showing somebody that is like, oh, I can ride a bike, I can speak, I can train, I can make a course, I can, that's really, I feel like that's the bottom line, is the location independence, the time freedom, the lifestyle, that this affords us, and the money. The money's great too.
Totally. Yeah. You said something earlier that was unbelievable. You're 47?
I
What?
am. I am.
Wow.
I have 3 kids, and that's the other thing I will say when we talk about legacy. I have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and an 11-year-old. They built a 6-figure business. They're kids. They live at home. They're kids. One in high school, one in elementary or middle school, and one in college, just starting college. And they've got a 6-figure business. I'm teaching them to do webinars. I'm teaching them. I mean, they're kids. I'm like, man, if I only knew what you knew now. If I knew what I knew now when I was 17. But my parents were entrepreneurs, I didn't know.
Man, I would love to have you on another podcast episode to talk about that. That's incredible. So for everyone listening, we've talked a lot about book publishing, monetizing, why, the fulfillment, the benefits. What's the first steps? Like, what does someone start to do? Do they join a program? Do they write a book? Did they start digesting free content? Like where would you start knowing what you know now if you had to start all over again and you wanted to get where you are now?
Well, I think doing a brain dump initially of all the things you could offer, right? What are the things I could teach someone? And everybody thinks when I ask people that question, they're like, oh God, I don't have any skills. I don't know. It's like, yes, you do. You've had jobs before, you spent your time doing something. What is it? Maybe you're a good photographer. You know what I mean? Who knows? Or maybe you're a good graphic artist, or maybe you're a lawyer, doctor, CPA. Maybe you've been a business owner. But even a lot of people ask me, how do I set up an LLC? How do I set up my phone number? When I call, do you hear that voicemail to forward to people's extension? And they ask me like really silly. They're not silly questions. There's no silly question, but they ask really like simple questions, and I'm like, interesting. People don't know, So even if you have a business, you've learned to do all of those things. So teaching other people how to do that, teaching other people how to be a successful whatever owner, or how to, and sometimes it's not that. Maybe you have an amazing marriage. I have a client who she's been divorced 7 times, and now she's been married for 30 years. And I'm like, you think she knows a thing or two about marriage? Getting divorced 7 times?
Wow.
But now being married for like 30-something years, she figured it out, right? So who do you want talking to you about relationships? Somebody who's got a degree in it, or somebody who's been there and done it? Things like that. Like, she's like, well, what can I teach people? I'm like, girl, she's been there and done it. She's seen it all. So things like that. So I think brainstorming initially to figure out what it is, putting those kind of ideas on paper, all the things you could talk about in a book, right? No specific order, just when it comes to mind, writing it down, doing a brain dump, and then kind of putting them in the order they will go. And then you have a very loose, messy table of contents. And normally when someone comes to us, we either help them create that, or we help them kind of finalize it, pull it together. And then it's literally a matter of recording that content over a program like this, like Zoom or Loom, or whatever they want to do. We transcribe it, we edit it developmentally, and then punctuation, grammar, spelling. We create an amazing cover, and then we publish it. And there's so many platforms now, like Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. There's so many platforms, and there's so much possibility to get that book worldwide, right? The biggest thing I would say too is, what's the call to action going to be, right? Think about what's your call to action. If I write this book, what at the end of it, like at the beginning, if you read this book, I'm going to teach you what's the outcome, transformation, or result they're going to get, right? So you need to think about that. Whether it's you're going to drive them to you speaking, you're going to consult, you're going to coach, you want them to call your law firm, you want them to call your CPA firm, whatever it is, right? There needs to be some sort of call to action, because people want to be told, wow, that was a great book.
That's right.
Now what? Right? So I think those are the most important things with getting started, because once somebody has that, or they've kind of gone through that exercise, then they kind of feel like they have the confidence to move forward and have someone, guide them through the other steps of the process, right? Or you hire someone to help you get there faster and easier and that sort of thing. But many people self-publish too. It's
right.
The world is your oyster, right? The possibilities are endless. So
you just got to do it. You just need to take the first step. I love that.
Do it.
Well, Cris, I truly appreciate you giving your energy, your wisdom, your knowledge into this interview. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it. My final question is for everybody listening that just really appreciates your message, wants to connect with you, wants to follow your content. What's the best place for people to do that? Where do they go?
Sure. Well, we actually, just like everybody and just what we teach our clients to do, we help them do. We send people to a free training that we created. It's about 25 minutes long, so it's not long, at gamechangerpress.com. So www.gamechangerpress.com. It's a short 25-minute webinar. There's nothing for sale on that webinar. If you listen to that and go, this kind of makes sense to me, or I'd like to learn more, we book a call. And just being honest, I know a lot of people book calls and they get them on these calls and try to sell them things. Honestly, we turn away more people than we can actually publish, because if someone wants to publish a kid's poetry book, right? That's not really what we do. We do books more that are more nonfiction, more kind of like a how-to or knowledge, more in the business realm. So, but we talk about where they are, where they're looking to go, and we map out a plan to get them there. And if we can't help, we say, hey, you know what? Here's a publishing company that does exactly what you're looking for. Here are the resources I know that can help you. You know, I had a lady call the other day, just wanted to know how to do it. She's like, how do I do an audiobook on my own? I'm like, go here, here, and here. Do this, this, and this. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. So, I mean, there's just, if we can share or help you, we're going to do that, because we want people, I feel like people do have, everybody has a message in them. You know, they have value. We all have value in some way, shape, or form. God gave all of us skills, right? We all have skills. Right. We have value. Right. And it's just a matter of bringing that to the world. And a lot of times people, I think, are surprised that people like it. People love what I have to say. Yeah, they do.
You need to write a book on how to get to your Instagram to 100,000 followers. I saw that. I was like, dang, Cris, go. What?
Yeah, that's definitely, well, that comes, you know, to like the impact, impact, influence, all of those things help too with your credibility as you grow, and as you build your business. And that's all part of it, right? But it's, there's a lot that comes into this book. And for me, it's not really about I don't care how many followers, I don't care. That's not my thing, but I do love to empower people. I love to help people. I love to serve people. And it's fun to see people win. You know, right. Many people have poured into me in my life and helped me win and helped me get where I am. So it's fun to give. It's that whole feeling we were talking about earlier. It just feels good to help other people awesome. Get where they want to go in life, you know?
Absolutely. Well, Cris, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. And I know everybody's going to really enjoy this interview. I can't wait to publish it. And hopefully we can have you on one day in the future to talk about kids and how they can grow six-figure businesses before college. That would be a great episode. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed it so much. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.